Imagineering just launched one of their most impressive pieces of character tech in years, and not enough people are really talking about it. That's because not that many people have been able to see it in person so far. Not only is it currently exclusive to Disney Cruise Line, but this tech is only on one ship, in one show, in a theater where no videos or pictures are allowed, except when Disney and Imagineering pulled back the curtain to let a small group of media see this technology up close, including me.
Seriously, these things are massive.
It's called Exoframe, a new way for Disney to bring gigantic characters to life. It's tech that Disney has been developing and testing for years, but it's finally ready for prime time. And after seeing Exoframe up close and interviewing the creative team who brought this to life,
some of the most cutting edge technology we've ever used on our stages anywhere.
What I learned is that Disney didn't create a big puppet, Disney made a mech suit. I'm James Grosh from Guide to WDW. You know, all the buzz in the theme park tech world lately has been focused on robots, like the Olaf robot in Universal's Baby Dragons at Epic Universe. Free-roaming animatronics are all the rage these days, but I don't see as much hype around Exoframe. And that's a shame because this is a big deal. The possibilities that this puppet mech combo open for what characters Disney can bring to life in the future are massive. And when you look at Exoframe and the free-roaming robots together, it tells a really compelling story about the future of characters, not just on cruise ships, but in the parks as well. So what is Exoframe? How does it work? And what characters will Disney use for it in the future? Let's dive in. Imagineers first showed a rough prototype of this Exoframe tech in 2021 at Destination D23.
As you can see, they're really focused on bringing characters of all sizes to life. And right now, they're developing a full-body exoskeleton system. We call it Project Exo.
And so Project Exo is looking at how exoskeleton technology can build a whole new class of big costume character that's super expressive.
And the prototype, this gives you a pretty cool look into the future. It's still in early concept development, but what I've asked the team to do is move really, really fast.
And the team did move fast. Just a year later, Project Exo produced its first character in the parks, the Hulk, who appeared in 2022 at Avengers Campus in California Adventure. The Hulk showed the promise of this tech. The scale was undeniably impressive and felt different than any other costume character. He felt intimidating in a way that a normal costume character couldn't convey. But it also showcased the limitations. They put him in his Endgame Quantum Realm suit, so the Hulk was wearing a mask, letting him have a static face, which is not very expressive. He also had awkward, what do I do with my arms energy. But overall, I left seeing the Hulk impressed, but also it felt clearly like a tech demo or a proof of concept. And it really was. Hulk's tenure at Avengers Campus was brief. And then Project Exo went silent for 3 years. But behind the scenes, Imagineers kept working on Exoframe. I had the chance to talk with Michael Cerna, Executive Creative Director at Disney Live Entertainment. He spent a year and a half working directly on the Hulk Exoframe character. My biggest question was, what did they learn from the Hulk?
Right, it's one of those things that you can keep testing to see if maybe it might be okay in a park, but putting it in a park environment, it actually worked. It wasn't the final result of what we wanted, but we knew that that was a starting place. So it did give us a series of tools we could put together. So I think when this came about, the point was to take all the things we learned there of basically how the structure could hold up a costume, and then to give it a bigger life.
Those lessons were key to seeing if this tech could go the distance, and as fate would have it, the destiny of Exoframe was at sea. Debuting in late 2025, the Disney Destiny is Disney Cruise Line's 7th ship, and their newest domestic ship in the fleet. Disney invited me to sail on the Destiny last year, and the ship is great. Haunted Mansion Parlor, Aquamouse, all-you-can-eat Mickey waffles, but the thing that I liked most on board? Hercules. Hercules is a huge part of the ship's DNA. The theme is heroes and villains, and the Destiny's godparent is Susan Egan, future Disney legend and the voice of Meg in the original 1997 animated film.
I am thrilled that Hercules is having a new moment 27 years after we had the movie.
So one thing that absolutely slayed me on the Disney Destiny is the Hercules show. It is incredible.
Hercules blew me away, and one of the big reasons was the puppetry. Some of the puppets rely on old school techniques, and I'm talking really old school. The Hydras are a showstopper, but conceptually they're similar to Chinese dragon puppets, a tradition that can be traced back for centuries. But two puppets in particular are extremely new school, packing in a ton of technology. The Titans. They are the big climax of this Hercules show. The Titans are towering, gigantic monsters who battle Hercules at his greatest test. But Imagineers face their own test: how to bring this battle to life on stage. Now, the Titans started on a traditional theatrical puppet track, but Disney had a very different plan at first for how to make these characters big, according to Jeff Conover, creative director for puppetry and articulation at WDI.
I am not a fan of stilts, and believe it or not, when I was initially doing these designs, I was designing them around stilts. And of course our safety team is like, we're on a moving ship, do you remember that? I'm like, yes, okay, of course. The timing, it was just serendipity. The timing of the availability of the Exoframe and this show coming along, it was perfect.
And here's why this tech was perfect for this show. Canonically, Hercules is a big dude. Corey J. Bradford, the actor who originated the role for this production, is 6 feet tall. So the Titans needed to dwarf him, and they do. The Rock Titan stands at 9 feet, and the Ice Titan is a staggering 13 feet tall. I saw the show from the balcony, and the size of these Titans plays to the back of the theater, but I also got to walk up close to them. And let me tell you, it's a totally different feeling standing next to these Titans. Even as a tall guy, these feel massive. But massive puppets means massive weight, and Imagineering tries to solve some of that with materials. They use a lot of carbon fiber, which is a very lightweight but strong material, plus hand-sculpted foam, pattern-drafted foam, and Kydex thermoplastic. These materials read more like tactical gear or aerospace components than puppet. But even with the foam and the carbon fiber, these puppets weigh around 120 pounds each. And this is where the big innovation of the exoskeleton comes in. Without an exoskeleton, all 120 pounds of that weight would be resting on your shoulders and back. Imagine performing fight choreography with a king-size memory foam mattress strapped to you. This performance of Hercules is brought to you by Helix Sleep.
And what exoskeleton allows you to do is transfer weight from very heavy objects. It's usually for military or construction. It takes all of that weight and transfers it down to the deck, to the floor. So our performer here, this is Cam. Cam is now responsible for moving this weight, but he's not carrying the weight per se.
So the exoskeleton frame redirects all of that weight down through the structure, not onto the performer, but onto the floor. The performer is inside the rig, not carrying it, but driving it. And it's much more stable than stilts, which is very good because stabilization is a big concern for performers on a moving cruise ship. Rough seas can happen, and when I felt it, it was disorienting. Except I was sitting on a stool at the Haunted Mansion parlor, not piloting a 13-foot Titan in front of an audience. But Imagineering built backup stabilizers into the puppet's design.
We have what we call rough seas contingency. So, if we're in a situation where the ship is really moving, these arms, we sort of built in to this particular character, the arms long enough that Zion is able to at least put one of the fists down or both fists down if he needs to give himself some stability. On the ice puppet, we've got some icicles that we actually attach to the arms of ice, and those icicles are actually just canes, and they're there to help stabilize our ice puppeteer.
But Exoframe is more than just the frame. Imagineering is able to add extra components to it.
And the Exoframe allows us to build all of these puppet elements that you see here around this frame. It's loaded with electronics as well, because his eyes light up, his mouth lights up. So he also has mouth movement.
The Rock Titan says, like and subscribe.
It's more than just carbon fiber and foam there.
There are even built-in fog effects, which would be downright cruel if all the weight was on the performer's back and shoulders. But since the exoskeleton transfers the weight to the ground, it's no big deal to add a fog machine. And all of those different elements come together to bring the Titans to life on stage. But that icy fog is not even the coolest part of this tech. There's pneumatic assist built into key joints like the knees and shoulders that compress and release with the performer's movements, actually augmenting the performer's strength.
But a lot of the arm movement and body movement has gas shock assist. So they're not even moving a lot of that weight around. They're just providing some momentum and inertia.
This enables a wide range of motion, allowing the performers to move these giant characters' arms and legs with ease as they square off against Hercules in the show's biggest fight sequence. So when you think about it, Exoframe is part puppet, part mech suit. And that's not an exaggeration. According to IAPA, Disney partnered with Robotics to manufacture the Exoskeleton. And that company makes products that look like they belong on the USCSS Nostromo. But here's the detail that blew my mind. These titanic mechs aren't piloted by drift-compatible super soldiers or even puppeteers. The performers' primary background are in dance, and they take on many different roles throughout the show, including the Hydra.
We expect 1,700 costumes in Hercules alone, and all of our costume changes are less than 2 minutes. So all of the changes are quick changes for every single performer. Even getting into those Titans, less than 2 minutes. They've got to get that down pat.
I don't know why, maybe the complexity of the tech, but I just imagine that the Titans would be waiting in the wings all show, already suited up in the Exoframe. But getting in takes less than 2 minutes, the same as every other quick change. And let me make this clear, putting Exoframe in this show on a cruise ship is high stakes. Disney Cruise Line shows are legitimately Broadway-level productions, and the whole story hinges on this battle. I love theater. I was a theater major at USC, fight on, and so I don't say this lightly. Hercules was one of my favorite theatrical productions I've ever seen, and the Titans are a huge part of what makes it work. When I saw the Hulk at California Adventure in 2022, I remember thinking this tech had promise, but seeing the Titans in this show, Exoframe is ready for primetime. So what's next for Exoframe? Here's what Jonathan Becker, Principal Research and Development Imagineer, says. This exoskeleton platform is now being used as a foundation to create bold new characters for a wide range of experiences. Becker isn't exaggerating. Imagineering has filed patents on the exoskeleton technology, including one for 3D printed lattice muscles. They are building the R&D infrastructure. And just like how Imagineering learned from the Hulk, they've also learned from the Titans.
We've learned a lot just from this. So every time we do something, whether it's something like this or just another puppet like, Takan Tafiti from Walt, you learn something every single time. And so I know for me, if I were to create another character utilizing this, using the Exoframe, I know what my options are. I know I'm better educated now on the things that I would like to change.
And to understand what that means for the future of Project EXO, we need to look at Project Kiwi, because that is another character platform that has a lot of parallels. At 2021 Destination D23, right before Josh D'Amaro brought Project EXO on stage, Disney demoed Project Kiwi, which was the free-roaming dancing baby Groot. Groot had a brief playtest at California Adventure in 2023, just months after the Hulk playtest in the same park. And thanks to advancements in reinforcement learning and simulation, Disney's robotics tech has rapidly advanced with several free-roaming characters, the BD droids, Herbie, and Olaf. It's become an entire character platform. I go into a lot of detail about how Disney was able to pull off the free-roaming Olaf in just 4 months in my last video. Now, Exoframe has not had that same explosive growth trajectory as the robotic tech, but the use of it in the Hercules show and the creative success of the implementation is a vote of confidence in the tech, and a positive sign for the future. I've seen a lot of anxiety in my comments recently about the free-roaming robots, that Disney's just trying to replace humans, I guess as a way of cutting costs. But Exoframe shows that this is thinking about it in the wrong way. Disney isn't out to replace human performers. What they're really doing is giving themselves a bigger toolkit when it comes to character scale. And this is important because themed entertainment at its core is a feelings business. How you feel walking down Main Street or riding Flight of Passage. Theme parks make you feel excited, nostalgic, thrilled, scared, and that's what keeps us coming back. And Disney has always used scale in their environments to evoke these feelings. But with costume characters, it's mostly human-sized to human-sized. And that works great with human characters, in a way that will never be topped by a robot or a puppet. But with characters like Olaf or Figment, there's a bit of suspension of disbelief when this tiny character is now almost 6 feet tall. But with robots and Exoframe, now you can have characters of different sizes, different shapes, different scales, small and cute, or huge and intimidating, all existing in the parks and cruise ships. The characters not only become more believable, but they also evoke different feelings. So what characters will Disney use Exoframe for in the future? Well, when Disney first showed off Project EXO, the performer had very Wampa-looking feet. Disney's been doing a good job of adding new characters to Galaxy's Edge lately, with the BD droids and the original trilogy characters. Having a massive Wampa roam around the land could add a bit of extra flair. But Disney also has several upcoming projects where a massive character fits in really organically. Monstropolis at Hollywood Studios would be a great opportunity to have giant monsters roaming the land. With Villains Land at Magic Kingdom, you could have Chernabog or the Horned King brought to life in massive ways. But my favorite pick for this tech is something I'd put money on because it feels too much of a full circle moment. At Avengers Campus, Disney is currently building a new Avengers Infinity Defense ride, and the villain is King Thanos, whose resemblance to Bob Chapek is probably just a big coincidence. But Thanos is a perfect character for this, where you want something big and intimidating. When the expansion opens, Disney could add a Thanos exoframe character roaming the land where the technology debuted.
That is destiny fulfilled.
And what if they were able to put an animatronic head on top? They've done it before with costume characters, and if they can fit fog effects and other electronics into the Titans, just saying. If Disney could blend robotics and exoframe, that would be so cool. But let me know, what character do you want to see brought to life with Disney's new puppet/mech tech? And the next time Disney uses exoframe in the parks or the cruise ships, you'll find out about it here and in my newsletter, The Tip Board. It's weekly Disney intelligence sent to your inbox. Until then, we can still see this tech in Hercules on the Destiny, which is a pretty good way to wait if you ask me. This has been James Grosh from Guide to WDW. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you real soon.